Hello everybody, today I'm going to talk you through a caramel slice. It's a favourite in our household. Caramel slice that I make is an Anzac biscuit base. So I'm going to talk you through the 3 steps. So you've got your base, your biscuit base, then you've got your caramel filling and then your chocolate on top. So it's a pretty simple recipe but tastes really good. So for the base we've got 125 grams of butter, we have 4 tablespoons of golden syrup, we have 1/4 of a tablespoon of baking soda, 1 cup of rolled oats, 1 cup of plain flour, we have 3/4 cup of desiccated coconut, and we have 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So that's for the base. For the caramel filling, okay, so I like to just use a tin of sweetened condensed milk. We've got 125 grams of butter, 1/3 cup of caster sugar, and 1/3 cup of golden syrup. For the chocolate top, some people like to use a butter base. I like to just use vegetable oil with your melted down chocolate. So we've got about 1 cup of dark chocolate biscuit, drops, but you can use normal chocolate, you can even use a white chocolate on top. So we just like to melt that together. Okay, so first step to making the biscuit base is to melt the butter and the golden syrup over a low heat. I've also preheated my oven to 170 degrees, ready for our biscuit base. Okay, so that's all melted quite nicely, and now we are going to mix all the dry ingredients together. Okay, so we're just going to put all of our sifted flour into a bowl, coconut, oats, and the sugar. And we're just going to make sure that's all mixed in nicely. Okay, so over here I've just boiled a little bit of water, which we're going to use in a minute, to dissolve the baking soda. So we're just going to pour that baking soda in, and just let that dissolve a little bit. Okay. Got my caramel that I've just melted with the butter, and we're just going to add that mixture straight into there, and you'll see it's frothing up a little bit there, which is what you want. Okay, once it's done that, okay, so we're just mixing that through now. Right, so once that's all mixed through, you're going to place it into your silicone baking dish. Okay. Now for this I like to just use a spatula to make sure it's all even. Okay, so once it's all nice and even and smooth, it's going into the oven for about 15 minutes on 170 degrees. Okay, so we've taken our biscuit base out of the oven after 15 minutes, and you'll see it's slightly golden on top. It'll appear a little bit soft, but as it cools down it will start to be a little bit chewier and harder as it sets, which gives it a nice crunchy base. So we're going to let that cool for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to start on our caramel Right, so we're going to talk you through how to do the caramel filling. This is certainly the most challenging part. You can't leave this unattended during the 15 minutes of cooking, and you don't want it on too high of a heat. So I've got mine on a really low heat while I melt the butter and mix the ingredients, and then I'm slowly stirring it as the heat increases. So I'll just turn the camera down so you can see. All right, so Alright, so to start with, I'm going to melt my butter. And I'm going to add the golden syrup. I just sort of hold it over the heat and it drizzles out over the butter. It's on a low heat, so it's not going to stick to the bottom of the pan. Okay, give that a little stir. Now I'm going to add the sugar. Okay, so we still have that on a very low heat. Have not changed the heat, but it is also dissolved, so all that sugar has now dissolved. And I'm going to add my condensed milk. Still on a very low heat. Okay. Alright, so I'm just turning it slightly up to, I'll show you. Okay, so I don't have that on medium, it's still on a very, very low heat. Okay. Okay, so this has been on a low heat now for close to 10 minutes, and I've just been stirring the entire time, and you can see it's starting to really thicken there. So we're about 5 minutes to go before we're going to pull this off. Okay, so our caramel is looking really, really good, and in a minute we are going to spread that over our biscuit base, and we need to do that pretty quickly because it will start to set. Okay, so we are just going to pour this straight over the top. Okay, so that is then going to go into the fridge to completely set before we will make our chocolate top. So you can just give that a little bit of a shake, and it can go straight into the fridge like that. Okay, so the last part of our caramel slice is to melt our chocolate with our vegetable oil in the microwave. So when we do this, we're just going to pour the vegetable oil over that and let that dissolve into the chocolate. And then we're going to heat it up in the microwave for 30 seconds at a time. So we never want to heat it up for too long because you don't want the chocolate to harden. So we'll do 30 seconds at a time, and then we will spread it over the top of our caramel. Okay, so that's the first 30 seconds, and you can see it's not quite ready yet. It needs a little bit longer in the microwave. Alright, so that's looking pretty good there. So we just want to stir that through till it's nice and thin and no lumpy bits in the chocolate. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Alright, so now we want to pour it over the top of the caramel. And I like to use a nice spatula to just smooth it over. Okay. And you'll see it just smooths out really easily over the top of the caramel. The caramel has set, so it's not going to smudge the caramel at all. And you don't want the chocolate to be too thick, because we want it to be easy to cut up after it's set in the fridge. Okay, so you can see that's nice and smooth. It's not lumpy at all. And that will then go into the fridge, preferably overnight. And then in the morning, this will just peel off. It's really easy. The silicone will just come away from the sides. And then I just use a knife that I've heated up under hot water, and I just dry the blade, and then it cuts through the chocolate really easily into bite-sized pieces, and it's really, really yummy. Can freeze well for a couple of months in a airtight container in the freezer as well. So enjoy. Thank you for listening.